I had a rather interesting conversation with my daughter last night. She's been calling me a lot lately, so we've just been chatting about random things, going through some things. She's 15, so of course she goes through a lot of things at that age. Of course, she has her own little dreams and things she wants to do. And when I say little, it's because she's got starting on her journey. So she said she wants a job because obviously, what does that mean? She just wants money. So she wants to be able to be self-sufficient. She wants to be able to have money. And I was talking about some things, and I'm not here expecting people to agree with me on everything, and I'm not always going to be right, of course. In this situation, I think I am. I often do, of course. Why would you say something if you didn't believe it yourself? I don't want to dash her dreams. I mean, that's really where the problem stems. That's why I'm talking openly about things, It's like, I don't want to dash a dream, but there is, I think, a need for people to be realistic. I mean, there's too much of this naivety in the world. And then what happens, inevitably happens, is people sell you a dream, and then they just disappoint you and manipulate, and then all hell breaks loose. And then you feel you have to be subservient. You have to just keep continuing the status quo because society says it's normal. And it's like, I've always been different to the average person. She's seen my journey, of course. I can say I could seem erratic, but really I can be erratic. There's a method to the madness, of course. But I'm not someone that's a pushover. I'm not someone that ever has been. I speak my mind. Now, look, I understand this. A lot of people are going to consider me a troublemaker. They're going to see me reckless, all those things. But it's not. I just recognize trouble, and I speak about it. And then obviously those who are either inept or corrupt don't like it, do they? Because obviously you're shining a light on their issues. But if there's no issue, I'd have nothing. I wouldn't talk. I wouldn't call up. I wouldn't speak up on it. So, I've told her about a lot of the things I've been through in the workplaces. A lot of time it's me having to speak up and stand my ground, and even speak up for everyone a lot of the time, because everybody else, I don't want to say cowards, but they are. People have problems and things. They come to me rather than say it as themselves. And I look like the unhinged lunatic because I'm the one speaking up all the time. And, even I was getting fed up in workplaces having to deal with this, because I just thought, you know what? It's not my battle. You solve that. I don't know how to have in the conversations. I don't mind if it turns into an argument, but it's not my argument all the time. People need to start having a bit of a backbone, I think, because there's always this fear that obviously, your life money has a huge bearing on your quality of life, and people don't want to risk that. It's easy to try and get somebody else to do it on their behalf, but it's just, for me, it's weak. And that's something I don't shy away from. So I do talk up for other people. But, I'll pick and choose with that situation. But I'll always talk up for myself. So, of course, she's seen all that. And I will say I did start off, because once I get started, I guess I go off on one. And she said later on, it talked quite late. And I can't remember exactly how she said it. So I can't say it verbatim. But it was almost like listening to me, I can't remember what it was, but it was something like, in the context of it pretty much is, by listening to me, it doesn't make her excited about going to work or something, or something like that. And I felt, well, part of it is there's a dream being crushed, but the other side is I've done my job. I feel like I've done my job. It's about being realistic, and that's really what it is, because you can crush a dream, but the dream's going to get crushed anyway. Do you see what I mean? I understand people would obviously say, you'd rather they would just, everybody just wants rose tinted glasses. I would rather she faced the world knowing what's coming. I would rather she was like that. And then when something happens in her life, it triggers a response because she's already aware of it. So if you're already anticipating the issues in a workplace, and then you come across it, you're going to be straight away, you're naturally going to be in defense mode, because wait a minute, I heard about this. If you don't know of that and you go in somewhere, you are likely to be manipulated. You're going to feel suppressed. You might even go silent. You might go withdrawn. People can be bullies. There literally can be bullying in workplaces, but also there's a real deep societal expectation on people, and it bothers me a lot. And it's not just workplaces. It could be someone goes off to university. Maybe no one in the family's ever gone off to university. Think of the pressure that puts you under. You're literally they're other people's success story. So what happens if it doesn't work out? What happens if you're struggling, you can't keep up with the pace? What happens if you're not enjoying it? Well, everybody back home is relying on me to do it. That's not your responsibility. So that's part of it as well, you know. There's this level of, this is your life. What do you want for it? Not what is society expecting of you, because that bothers me all the time. So that's an issue I talk up on, even if there is no problem in the freaking workplace. Or I'll talk on it in relation to, not obviously not there, but outside of, because I think it's important that we all live our life how we want it to be, not what everybody expects of us. You know, my mind operates a bit different to the average person. I can't do things repeatedly like I'm a freaking machine. I can't do it, but it sears into my soul. I'm not here to be a robot. I'm not here to be a mirror of everyone else. So it bothers me when everything is repeated regularly. So, for instance, I've done warehouse work. It's so boring to me now. Like, I've done every role you could think of. I've used nearly every machine you could think of. Not factory. I can't stand factory. Factory is processing. Factory is mundane. Like, think of Homer Simpson just sitting there in that nuclear power plant. That's boring as shit to me. Or sitting there looking at a machine and just doing one job over and over and over. It's like, my God. Like, literally, is that your life? With a warehouse, at least it's physical, at least it's active. There's interacting with other people, you know, it's moving about. There's a bit of something different to it. But even that becomes monotonous because it's the same. If you're assigned a role, you're literally in that same role, in that same area on a regular basis. I've always felt, and I've always spoke up about it, things should be rotated. You know, make people enjoy like coming to work so they never feel bored. It's never stagnant. I don't understand why companies do that. They think you're proficient at this. We're going to put our best people on it. Well, they're only your best people because no one else has had a chance to try it. You know? So I do think different. And I know, to be totally honest, I know if I was given a leadership role, I would thrive like crazy in it if I was left to do it myself. I don't do well reporting to people. I don't do well people bossing me about. Because, and this is what I was talking about my daughter, I'm not saying that I didn't say I should be a leader. I didn't say that, but I know internally I'd be great. But I'm not here to sell myself, and I don't apply for those things because I know they're looking for, first of all, they're looking for kiss asses, and they're looking for someone who's already had that role before. And it's like, well, how the hell does anyone else get a chance? So, you know what I mean? So what I was saying to her was, the real problem you've got in workplaces is the fact that you end up, usually, it's very rare you don't, you end up working for people who have less intelligence than you. They don't even have as much experience. So you see all the flaws, you see the things that could be improved, and you're answering to, effectively, a lot of the time, you're answering to a freaking moron who kisses someone else's ass, and other people are kissing their ass. So you've got this politics going on in the workplace, and it's an absolute mess. And you're looking, thinking, why am I reporting to this guy? Well, obviously, we're all women, but, you know, I mean, why am I reporting to them? This is ridiculous. They're telling me what to do, and they're not even good at... Do you know what I mean? It's like the thing that I said to her, I think it made her laugh because I said, a lot of the time these people, I'm not here to put people down, but it's to be realistic. I've seen it enough times. A lot of the time these people who are not very good at what they do, they are posturing above. Their ego runs rampant, you know. It's like power gets control of people. They actually think they're better or something. I find it baffling myself. And they've even said it to me a few times at someone. You could see they're threatened. Like, why would they even say it in the first place? But they always, you wouldn't be able to do this. And I'm thinking in my mind, like, you can't even do this. Do you know what I mean? You're terrible. Like, yeah, I've had it along a lot of places where I've had to have, really, I wouldn't always say it's an argument, but I've had very direct, strong, firm conversations with leadership. And I never ever in those conversations felt that I was out of my depth. I never felt that I was weak in any way. I didn't feel like I never thought like I was being a troublemaker. I knew it was obviously stressing them out. But I felt I was just going toe to toe with them, really. It was like, I never felt inferior. But anyway, because I've seen so much in that area, like, obviously it's in the warehouse area specifically, really. And that's what I've said to her, really, is when you want to do something, find something you enjoy. So something that, if you do something you enjoy, it's often said it never feels like work. I think that's important because I said once you might go somewhere, just think I need some money just for a little bit, and that's what you intend to do. You find people do this. I mean, I fell into it myself. I felt there was a reason I did though, personally, like in warehousing. Warehousing is full of diverse cultures and people. So there's so much you can learn about people in it. And I think that's what I was drawn to. Because I first started out doing well, it was, I don't know if my very first job, I think my first job was um, like a cash and carries. It's where the shopkeepers come to get their products. But it's like it's almost like a store warehouse, you know? And that got me into that. But I had also had an apprentice job that was paid very little, and it was an accountant's assistant. And I started doing more than the accountant. And look at the life they live and the money they have. Now I'm not saying I'm better because I was still learning, but it would give me more and more responsibilities. All of a sudden, they upgraded me to my own room, and then they gave me my own computer. Didn't have these things to start with. I had to sit on a side table on a desk. I had my own room. Then they gave me ledgers and stuff. I had to sort of like double check, make sure everything's matches. I was looking through invoices. I was going through loads of stuff. And in the end, they were telling me to phone clients to chase invoices and things. And I thought, this is outrageous. Do you know what I mean? This is boring as shit as well. That is really one of the most boring roles you could have. And I could hear people talking, laughing and things downstairs, which was a different company, but that was my first introduction to warehouse. And that's what I was interested in, the people, you know, rather than this stuffy, boring corporate crap. But little do I know the politics that goes on in the warehouses and things. And look, I've been in enough of them to know how it works. And I hold my own. I'm not a pushover, but I don't go anywhere expecting to cause trouble. You know, it's just now you see enough places, you just know how rubbish a lot of the places are. You know, it's just poorly managed from the top to the bottom. Not every place, of course, but anyone's been in the place, you see what you see. You know what I mean. So it gets quite demoralising, you know. But yeah, I'm an alert. So that's what I was saying to her: is if you find something you enjoy, I would push towards that. And then because if you like, for instance, if you just go to work in a shop for a little while, you might 10 years later still stuck in that shop because you get caught up in it, and it's hard to look away. So when I'm looking for work now, like to pay the bills, it's like realistically I'm looking at warehouse and forklift because it's what I'm used to, and it's the easiest thing for me to jump into. You know, obviously there's other sides to me here. I think I should be successful in my own right doing what I do. But where's the career in it? I honestly don't see where the door opens yet. I haven't seen the opportunities. And it's frustrating because obviously we all have expectation for our life. We all have wants, desires, and needs. And sometimes it sends us down that other path, you know. But I just know from experience, there's a chance that all hell's going to kick off when I'm when I'm in those places because I don't put up with crap. I just don't. So I'm very much now more picky. Should you say? I'm not looking. It's not the money, although the money matters because I think it's about the respect in me. So I've often found that in workplaces, the lower they pay you, usually they treat you the worst, which is a real strange situation. So their expectation of you is it doesn't even match. You know, so someone that pays you more doesn't expect as much from you, weirdly, but someone that pays you very little expects you to do everything, and they work you to the bone like you're a freaking slave. You know, it's crazy to me. Don't even respect you enough to pay you well, and yet they're pretty much abusing you. And you know, it is what it is. But like I say, you know, I've had plenty of clashes, but also, you know, you end up with what people don't talk about a lot. Now, every workplace is different, the dynamic's different, but that's a culture thing that's been ingrained from top to the bottom. You know, so there should be leadership, leading by example, and you can tell poor leadership when you see a poor workplace because that's what was created. So if there's no respect amongst colleagues, then you know where it started, don't you? So you know this is a terrible company. But you get that, and that's kind of what I was explaining to my daughter. Like, there might be politics at school, and you know, you're always going to get someone that's maybe the bully, someone that's vulnerable. You get that at workplaces too. You know, workplaces too. You know, me, I'm quite stoic when I start places. I can actually be quite fun. I'm probably not showing it here, but I can be really, really fun, enjoyable, laugh a lot, talk a lot. Yeah, I just muck in really. But usually the first day or two, I'm just sussing everybody out. I'm a lot more quiet the first few days. It's not because I'm shy or nervous. It's I'm calculated. So I'm just like watching around, seeing whoever is. I'm not here to sort of like buddy up to the first person that says hello. It's like, wait a minute, let me suss everybody out here. I'm figuring you all out. I'm assessing like a freaking machine. Because people are manipulative. You might have someone who takes advantage of people. It could be the first person to act like they care. Really, they're just picking on the weak every time. The weak is the one coming in. So, you know, I've had all sorts of things. And sometimes it is like a hazing, you know. And again, I don't. My intention isn't to be controversial. It never is. My intention isn't to be outspoken, to be someone who causes problems. But if I see a problem, I talk about it. I would much rather there wasn't a problem, everyone could just be happy. The thing with me is I tend to treat people how they treat me. So if someone goes the extra mile for me and they're supportive, I'll remember it. I don't take it for granted, and I will reciprocate. So I've had issues I wouldn't say issues, but I've had situations in workplaces where I've gone the extra mile for a leader who I respect. But likewise, it's gone the other way too, where I've actually walked out of jobs because of, I would consider, a moron posturing as a leader. And we've had an argument, and I'm like, I don't even want to work for you anymore. I don't like you. I don't care. I won't put myself in a miserable situation. Um, and I say I've had these issues, and who knows what the next one is. So I'm always of the mindset now that you're just going to walk into an absolute train wreck. So I'm looking at like job listings. I'm calculating all the job listings. How's that worded? What are they expecting? Because I can see it. I've had enough experience of it before we even get to the interview. And of course, then I'm calculating with the interview. So me now, it's not a case of, I don't see interviews now. When you're younger, I think you do. You just want the job. Maybe you feel a bit anxious. Now I'm of the mindset that job should impress me too. So I'm there to interview them to a degree, not in a rude way. And I don't go with the intention to be difficult. You just want to go work and be happy. Feel fulfilled to a degree, but it should be harmonious. You work together as a team. There's no stupid politics. There's no inept leadership. You come to work to get the job done and we go on. That's great. But a lot of the time that doesn't exist. A lot of the time it doesn't exist. So like I said, I don't want my daughter to naively go into situations expecting the world to be perfect when the world is cruel. The world has shown me that it's cruel. It literally is. And I think there's a naivety otherwise to expect it to be otherwise at the moment. And I just don't want her to be foolish, expecting sunshines and rainbows when it's really, really otherwise. So with that in mind, I think it's just important to find things you enjoy. And then at least, even if there are those things, it's at least you've got something that keeps the mind occupied and flourishing. If you do something you don't like and then it's the heavy existence being there, what hope is there, Like I said, I don't want to dash her dreams, but I think there's a reality check that comes with it. And then I think she's prepared. Because like I said, look, I'll talk about a situation. I could talk about all sorts of situations. Believe me, I've had so many problems. It's crazy. It really is. A lot of time, I'm always like, what is going on? Sometimes, yeah, it's my own doing because something bothers me enough. Sometimes people they've got me riled up because I don't like injustice and they know that. They figure that out with me. And then they start coming to me with the problems. Then I get riled up and then I speak up on that. Sometimes it's a leader who's trying to they're trying to control me because I represent anarchy, I think, personally. I think they want to control me because then it makes them look strong. If I could put this carefree, independent, I'm very much a free-spirited person. If I could put them in a box and control them and contain them, then I'm going to look amazing. Like that's what they think. So for a lot of time, I'm like this wild bull, and they're trying to freaking get me under control. And if they can get me under control, they just feel like they've done something here. That's what a lot of it feels like sometimes. So I've had stupid leaders, like absolute morons, and I'm like, you are just a kiss ass. Like really, you're no different. That's all you are. So we'll go on a couple of examples. I can only go so far with it though. But it's a warehouse I did back in 2020. Then I left in 2021. Again, I leave a lot of things. Sometimes it's to write my books. I left 2021, left about maybe 8 months later to write my book, finish one of my books. It was to finish, I think, Losing Mind to Find Your Soul. Then I went back there, weirdly enough, and it was different people there. Like some people were still there, other people had moved about, and then someone else got a position of a team leader, and they were not team leader quality. Their morals were not right there. And I left that one too. Well, I left that because I didn't really want to be there anymore anyway. But also, I wanted to finish Heal Your Mind, Free Your Soul. So I've got bigger goals than dealing with these morons. That's the trouble, isn't it? Yeah, I don't want to go too far off track, to be totally honest. Anyway, this guy was a bit pompous, a bit of a moron. Yeah, anyway. It's really hard for me to get into this one. I've got it in my book. because it did my head in. So effectively, I was doing different roles and I wasn't fulfilled. I was bored. I don't like being monotonous. I want to be active. So it was a really boring task. It was a lot of women doing it too, and they didn't mind it. They like to talk together, gossip and shit. I don't like gossip. I don't like all that. I just felt the things they were talking about was actually doing my head in. It made me want to shoot myself because it was so trivial and it's so just pointless. And I was like, I can't even listen to this shit much longer. It's hurting me. And all we was doing was literally getting stock and putting it on a conveyor belt. Like you'd get these things, you'd sort it and then scan it and shit, and then you put it in. And that was literally all the time. It's like, this is so boring. Like, it's easy, but it's boring. I can't do this every day. I just want to shoot myself. It's that bad. To me, to them, they're loving it. Easy, we can do overtime with this. Like, yeah, but who wants to do any longer than this? Bloody hell. So I got off. I just walked off and I started walking around the building, trying to find different team leaders for different areas and say, look, have you got any space on your area? And they go, why? And I go, because that's boring the shit out of me. So I'm quite a proactive person. I'll try my best while I'm there. So then I got moved on to a different area. But anyway, later on, that's after I really pushed it. And where I came from, they actually the team leaders, the supervisor, they were actually good leaders. Actually, the first that group, at least one of them was. There was like a freaking good cop, bad cop situation that side. But yeah, one of them was really good. But he didn't want to lose me because he said I was good at what I do, and he didn't want to lose that. And that's nice because you respect that was respected, but the job itself was boring me. I couldn't keep doing it. Then there was a harder task in that area, but so it was goods in. So obviously that's why the goods were coming in and we was processing it there. But sometimes there was a group of guys and they were unloading like containers that were coming in. They had sometimes equipment, but sometimes it was manual. And I'd rather just get stuck in and do stuff. So I asked, can I help? Can I help do that? Actually, that's what I was supposed to be doing initially, actually, weirdly enough, because they knew me from when I'd worked there before. And that's where they assigned me. So most people were coming in to do the boring shit. And I was put there, and I should have been over there doing that. And I think because there wasn't much to do, they put me on the boring things. Anyway, I started helping do some of that. It's physical work. Like, really physical. But I was like mucking in. We was all laughing. We were nearly hurting ourselves just laughing. We was doing like commando rolls over products because they're really heavy. It's not like you're breaking anything. But it was that mental. We've only got heavy shit falling, like massive stuff, furniture, or whatever the hell was coming off. And it was literally the width of the container. It was really long. We're like pulling it off together, trying to find the best ways to getting these on the pallets and shit, because it weren't palletized. And it was, some of it's really heavy. You feel like you're getting crushed. You feel like getting trapped together. It's fun. I like all that. We're in it together. We know how mad it is. We're laughing our heads off because of how dangerous it is, really, and how freaking mental it is. We're all nearly falling all over, even though like we all know how to work safely, but there's certain things you just got to get on with. But anyway, I like that. There's camaraderie. And one of the guys around the warehouse, it would always shout my name. You know, and that's the thing, isn't it? I think that's where it's respect. So, like, I might have an argument, I might have an issue with leadership or some other moron who's acting like they're freaking God's gift. But the ones you're mucking in with, they see what you do and they like your personality. And if they're quite an extrovert, they'll probably make it loud. And one of them was always driving around this PPT. You could hear him across the warehouse, just constantly booming my name out. It's crazy. And then when I relocated a different area, a couple of them just kept always coming over to try and talk to me. And I'm like, mate, I've got to get this done. Jesus. And this is what I'm talking about, like going the extra mile for people. So if I had nothing to do, because I went over to shipping in the end, because it was a bit more busy, I liked it. It occupied my mind, you know. So literally you just restacking so the parcels would come down this chute and you would just keep stacking them. You have different areas for different couriers and all sorts. Then you had to load it ready. So the trailer would come in, you load it. It just kept my mind busy, you know, because I had to go and collect the stuff sometimes, almost like internal postman, you know. I'll go and get it from the areas and bring it over with the pump truck and pallet truck. So for me, my mind was, as long as my mind's busy, I'm good. Like, I've either got to be stimulated intellectually or still I've just got to be busy physically, you know, something, otherwise I'll lose it. And I was doing all right. Sometimes it was boring because it was quiet periods. And like some of them are lazy, so they'd love to just stand there doing shit, just stand there, look like they're busy. I can't do that. So I would look lazy sometimes because I don't hide my boredom. So if I'm bored, I'll talk to people, I'll do something else. And you stand out, don't you? If someone stands there by something, you think they're doing something, they're doing shit, they're doing nothing. Keep going to the toilet to try and pretend that you get away with it. It's psychological. I don't like that. That's playing politics at work. You know, they're acting like they're doing a lot. They're doing nothing all day. And you're sweating by the end of the shift. You've been working your ass off, but there's quiet periods. And in them quiet periods, you now look lazy. It's like, open your eyes, mate. you know. So I'd argue, I'd back myself and everything. Because I know if I'm lazy or not, you know. And I admit that if I was, but no, I was taking those rest periods, you know, we'd catch up on with colleagues I get along with. But also, like, it's the weird database work. But anyway, sometimes there would be trailers and things coming in that people have to unload from goods in. So they'd have to come over to our area and unload. And sometimes, like, even in the morning, let's say I get in at 6 and by 7 o'clock, like, there's really not much to do anyway. And a trailer comes in. I see one of the guys. I'm familiar with them. Even if I'm not familiar with them, I'll help people. And I could stand there, do nothing, just like the other morons. Or I'll be proactive. I see they're unloading something on their own. Maybe it's furniture and it's heavy. But who would want to get involved in that? Why would you want to do that if you can get away with doing nothing? Well, I don't like seeing people struggle. So I'm going over. I'm like, do you want a hand? They go, yeah, if you can. I'm like, we're jumping on. We're just grabbing all this shit. Let's get this done, you know. I just think it's the right thing to do. I'm just doing what I think is always right. But anyway, so later on, this team leader that I think's a moron who got his promotion, me and him had a bit of a falling out because he never said it to you directly. He's a bit of a coward. But anyway, before we get there, like, it was all running like clockwork on our side. Everything was always signed off on time. Deliveries always went out right. It was everything. The handed over to the other team who did the late shift, always good. They like me. They liked me on the late shift. So the group that worked on my department late shift, they had a few people that were like either not turning up or they just weren't very good, and they wanted me on their team. They kept trying to convince me to leave the morning shift and go on their late shift because it was a permanent shift, either morning or late. I like early because then you get your evening off. They wanted me on their team, and they don't usually get on with people. It's about maybe 4 or 5 of them, and they don't like many people. But they really like me. Because sometimes I'd do overtime and I'd spend a couple of hours with them. No, I'm just saying. I mean, the people who actually do the roles respect me. That's what I'm saying. It's usually the ones that don't have an issue or people that are trying to hide. So anyway, so this team leader so when I keep saying he's above his station is because when I was there working there the first time, he wasn't a team leader. He was just been there longer than I'd turn up and he'd been there a few years already, but he wasn't like promoted. So then when I've left and then come back, this guy's now like a supervisor. But while I was still there, he then got the opportunity to be team leader. And the person he replaced, it was only because she had COVID or something and come back and then they moved her around. It weren't fair because she was great. And before we get onto this moron, I just want to show her leadership. She knew her qualities, so she left us to it. She trusted those who leaded. So there's a guy that was doing my job on the shipping side before I got there. And I knew him already from when I've been there before, and he respected me. And that guy, actually, funny enough, he was a bit older, but he used to be, he told me about his past. He was a warehouse operations manager. So literally, he ran warehouses. He was literally the top dog in the warehouses in different, but he came back, it was just because he was retiring. So he was getting a pension, but he got bored at home. So he just wanted to do something. So that's why he come and did this. But he's been there, done it. So he sees quality and he obviously sees problems too. And to prove that he definitely did, there was times when leadership in this building asked for him to come to their office and things because they wanted his advice on things. Crazy. So part of his background was he was actually a warehouse operations manager at places like Nestle. I was like, whoa, that's incredible. Tell me some stories, you know. And we get talking. And he always told me you have so much potential. You probably don't even see it. He said, but he used to call, I can't remember the word. It wasn't good. Yeah, it wasn't good. He said you have the potential to be incredibly destructive to a workplace. That's what he said. I thought, oh, that's harsh. He said, no, it's the way your mind is. If you see something wrong, you can cause a lot of problems. He said, but like if he was managing a place, so let's say places he's worked at before, this is where he actually said to me, because honest, you know, he knows what he's talking about. He's been there, done it. He said, I would put you in charge of the mailroom. I would let you run it. I would leave you to it. I know you'd get it done. Your mind you'd find ways to do it. You'd get it done. I know I could trust you to get it done. And because it's so busy, you wouldn't have time to start being destructive because it's your mind's. But I thought, well, that's interesting because he saw what I said. If I get bored, I'll start picking at things and I'll get fed up, which is what he noticed himself. He didn't need me to tell him that. He also saw the qualities in me that I have the leadership skills that I can get things done because I see the issues. And I know I'm actually really good with people, so I would know where to put people. I would see when this is the thing with me. I don't posture to anything. You know, I'm not here to convince anyone. I don't apply for leadership roles. I'm not a kiss ass, and I don't play politics, so I wouldn't play nice. And I've said this to people before. I say I couldn't even do it, and it's not because, and I explain it further. I say it's not because I'm scared to be in those roles or I don't feel I'm good enough. It's just I'll end up having an argument with the people above me who hired me in the first place because I'm not. I won't just follow rules. You know, I won't pass down the pressure to other people. So let's say the company is expecting everyone to work 50% more, like harder, and they're already working hard. I'm not going to put that pressure on my people. You know, I take it. I'm responsible. I'll take the weight, and I'll piss them off because I won't filter it down. And I know that's how it works. So I can't do it. But I know I'll be good. I knew I'd be good because I watch people all the time. So I would see all the subtleties that the average person misses because they're so stuck in their ego, they don't care about the people, whereas I care about people. So, for instance, if I saw someone's getting a bit withdrawn and they maybe disillusioned, I can see they're getting bored and I can see they're losing the passion. I'd notice that immediately with people. And it wouldn't be a case of, I'll get to work. It'd be like, well, what's going on? Like, what's happening here? Because I can see you're yourself lately. That's how I would be on a personal level. And it wouldn't be a case of I'm trying to get an angle on someone to focus on their weakness. It's just how can things improve? Like, is it that I mean, it's up to them to open up. But if it's a problem at home, then maybe they need that bit of time to themselves. Maybe I don't have the authority to tell them to not be there, but maybe just take it easy a bit, relax. I don't want you to have the pressure of work on top of that. So don't worry so much. Maybe just use this as a way to take your mind off of that, and then maybe you help them in that way. But maybe what can I like? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's just better to work with people because let's say it's a position where it's dangerous or something if you're not concentrating. Let's get you off of that and get you onto something that's not really going to be a detriment to yourself and others, I guess, and just we'll put that temporarily while you work with your things at home or something, Or let's say someone's really bored in a role and they just feel like they're not getting anywhere. It's like, okay, I'm watching you, Yeah, and I'd be open to all sorts. People promoting people, if you feel they deserve promotion. If someone isn't ready to be promoted but they're fed up and they feel they're getting overlooked, well, let's look into training then. Let's sort of test you in different roles, but we can't just elevate everybody that asks for it. But we can always give you an opportunity to move on to something else and try it. That's how I would be, Get the best out of people because you actually care. Don't keep whipping them and expecting them to freaking be your donkey. Anyway, so I thought that was interesting that he saw that. But anyway, a lot of people don't see that. They just see you as a reckless lunatic. It's like whatever. Because I don't put up injustice. So this other idiot, the one that got the promotion, because he replaced her, it's like you see it a lot of time even in sports. They come in, they just want to be a wrecking ball. They want to make it their way and then prove they did it. It was working before. You could just left us alone. Didn't want to keep doing it. Kept probing the bear. They just kept poking me, all the time. He'd never say it personally to my face. Never, ever would he say something direct to my face. He would say it in a roundabout way. So he might call a team brief and start making broad statements, but you sort of knew, is he targeting me? But he's not saying it. He's not looking at me directly. And it's like, that's cowardice, isn't it? Just idiot. But anyway, so one time he had changed the deployment sheets. When you're going to work, you always knew where he was going. And he changed it. He put me somewhere I didn't want to be, and he knew I wouldn't like it. And he started making, because what he'd done, he'd previously made, he'd get everyone to the team in the group, and then he'd say, right, I want everyone looking at the deployment sheets in the morning, and all these things, right? And I'd already had a conversation with him maybe a couple of weeks ago, because I'd helped out over in this other area sometimes. It was really hard. Like, it was too physically hard. Like, I can do hard work, but that was too much for a whole day. It's not fair. They don't get paid anymore. You're wrecked by the end of the day. It's just mental. There's no rest at all. And everyone else, you get to see people just laughing around, talking, standing. They finish work. They're all jolly. They've got all this energy. And those people working on that department are messed up. A lot of them end up quitting and stuff because it's just not right. So anyway, I said to him, maybe a few weeks before that, a couple of weeks, and I just said, if I end up stuck on that side there, I'm going to quit. I'll walk out. I said, because you don't get paid enough for that. I can go somewhere else, get paid just as much, just as similar money, and I won't, and without that hassle. And he goes, no, I'd never put you there. Never. I know you like it over there, and you're good. You do really well there. I wouldn't change that. I think really it's when he was coming into the role. So you just have a little frank conversation because I'm a direct person. So then this deployment sheet, without him saying anything directly to me, the coward, it moved me over there. And I refused to go over there. So when the morning came, I went back to my normal place, and I refused to go. I wouldn't go there. I just stayed where I was. And then at some point, he just said, why, because he said about the deployment sheet or something. I said, yeah, for some reason you put me there, and I told you I won't. And we had a bit of an argument over that, He's like, why don't you do as you're told? I said, because I've already told you I won't go over there. You know, I don't back down once I'm fired up, and I'm not. If I feel right in something, I'm justified. I won't back down. So anyway, because I come back through agency, an agency rep spoke to me and said they don't want to lose you, but they're putting you on a final warning. I said, how can I be on a final warning? I've had no warning. Like, where's the final warning? I said, that team leader was literally walking past with another team leader as I was having this conversation, and I just got louder because I knew they could hear me. I said, I started swearing. I said, they're absolute idiots. They're absolute morons. They don't even know what they're doing. I said, I could just walk out any minute. That was at this point. I'd lost the plot at that point. I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to be kept talked like some naughty kid, pushed in the corner, told to be quiet. That's what they wanted me to do, be quiet as well. Don't talk to anyone. That's what they said. Don't talk to anyone and don't leave this station. I thought, you can go and do one. I ain't even staying on this station, let alone not talking to people. So I finished doing the work. It slowed down. I went back to where I came from. So I left that station and didn't want me talking to people. And I'm talking to everyone. I thought, you ain't putting me in a box, mate. You can't control this. You can't control me. You're out of your depth. Again, I thought bad. I just thought, I'm not sitting in this shit. If I'm going to be a caged animal, I'm going to free myself. I kid you not. I don't care the consequences. I will just smash that cage, literally. So then I see him walking down, and he again didn't say nothing to me. Coward. He'll do it away from you. So I saw him, and I thought, oh no, because I asked someone. I said, has anyone said anything to you about like maybe being quiet and doing all this? They go, no. I go, so he's just picking on me then, right? And I see him coming, so I shouted to him. I said, can I have a word? And then we got into it. And it's like, I thought it quite funny because I'm being as calculated as I can. So I was pausing between what I'm saying because I didn't want to be heated. I just wanted to be as calculated as I can because it costs you your job. And I was like, how much of this job do I really want in the end, Can't remember the exact conversation now. It's in my book. But I think it's Heal Your Mind, Free Your Soul book. But yeah, we had a huge falling out. It ultimately was like, why won't you do that? Why won't you do as you're told? And I was thinking about the book. In my mind straight away, I flashed to my book I'm doing. I need the energy at home. I can't do something that's physically draining as that, which isn't fair because hardly anyone's doing that. It's only a small group of people. You're wrecked, which means you're exhausted at home. I need to be able to do the job, do the morning shift, and then when I go home, I can still write. I need to be able to do that because that's my passion. To do what he wants crushes my other dream, a bigger dream. And I'm not allowing anyone to have that effect. But I thought, I'm not going to discuss it with this dipshit. Like, he doesn't even deserve a conversation about it. I just literally just rebutted and just said, I said I won't do, I'm not going there. I said, I told you that and you still put me there anyway. I said, I'm not going to be made like a trapped animal. And he'd brought someone over to our team, I guess to move me over there, and he was absolute shit. Just kept getting up, walking off, leaving everyone like vulnerable, Walking around the whole building, no reason at all. And he was getting away with it because he knew this guy. So I mentioned it. He said, it's not about him, we're talking about you. And I thought, yeah, I know we are. So I just said to him, I said, if I go over there now, and that's just how I was with him. I don't look up at, if anyone knows me, I don't look up at people. I don't look down at people. I'll see you as a human being. And if I think you're an arsehole for a human being, I don't have much respect for you. And I don't care what title you've been given or how powerful you feel. You're just a person. You can lose that title just as much as you gain it. I don't have much respect for titles. So I really didn't give a shit who he was or what influence or power he had over me, So straight away, I'm just like, well, if I go over there, will I be there tomorrow? Because I thought, depends, because it's your job. No one wants to be like struggling for money. So I was like trying to weigh it up a little bit. I thought if it's just for the day, I might let it go, might not. I think it's about 12:30. I think this happened around about 12:30 and work finished at 2. So it's really another hour and a half. And in my head, I'm thinking, can I even put up another hour and a half of this shit? It's going to feel like eternity. So I said, will I be there tomorrow? He said, you might be. I thought, talking about that. It's not even my position. I work the other side. Like, what are we doing here? So I just thought, I'll go, what about next week? He goes, I don't know yet. I just thought, you're just playing silly bollocks with me, and I'm not here to play games. And he's already doing me headed anyway. And I thought this job's just getting worse with this guy. Weirdly enough, though, see, this is what I'm saying. It's not just me. There were people from other areas who had problems with him. So when they were bringing products over to us, for instance, sometimes they'd bring us the stuff, and he was always making complaints and bothering them. And these were fiery people as well. These were people that weren't going to be quiet. And I heard they were going to put in complaints about him. This is before my issue, So it weren't just me. A lot of people didn't like him. But I'm not here to play all that crap. It's like, I don't play games. I don't waste my life and my time. So, yeah, he said, so will you go over there? Will you go back and do that? I paused for a minute because, again, I'm weighing it up. You don't just walk out of jobs, do you? I mean, you want to a lot of the time, but you don't just do it. So I don't do things usually on a whim. Like if people might see me do things and think I'm unhinged and I don't think of the consequences. Oh, I think about it, but I'm very quick in calculating it. I see every outcome. I flash, like in a flash, I see every outcome. It's crazy. I just picture it all. Every scenario, like postcards. It was like, back down, you're over there, you're caged like an animal, you can't move an inch, you can't talk to people then have to watch you being weak. Now, I don't care about people's perceptions so much, but I'm not a weak individual and I'm not going to be pushed around and caged just because maybe you're desperate for the job, because you're desperate for the money, and allow someone to suppress you that much and make you look like an absolute weak moron, and it postures them as strong. I'm not a tool for your freaking march to be freaking powerful, mate. And just because you've chosen someone who you know can go toe-to-toe in conflict, if you can subdue me, yeah, I'm sure that does elevate you and makes you look real powerful. I'm going to make you look like a prat and people can freaking talk about it, discuss it after. You know, I don't care what people say after, really, but, you know, people, they'll put into question his leadership. So when he said, will you go back there now? Like, do it. Will you go back there? So I paused for maybe just a few seconds. Like I said, everything flashes with me fast. I'm very calculating. I looked at the time, it's just about 12:30, just gone past 12:30. I only had an hour and a half. I said, no, I'm going home. Started walking off. And then he started, and when he walked off his way, and when he got a bit further away, so there was distance between us, he just shouted, good. And I thought, oh, you're an absolute weak prat. Couldn't even say it straight to my face. I had to wait until he was further away. Idiot, innit? Yeah, but I was a moron. But yeah, I'm sure people will I bet people question that, because the guy, like I said, that operations manager I worked with, he wasn't happy either with all this, and he was essential to the business. Like, they needed him big time. They really, really needed him. They lent on him a lot, and because I was agency, so maybe a month or so before that, maybe before that, it wasn't. I don't think it was to do with this guy, although you never know what influence they have behind the scene. Sometimes the work was slowing down, so they let some agency people not come in for like days on end or even a week. And I got a message randomly not to come in because there's not a lot of work. And I was like, you know, you go to work to make money. You take a day off me, that messes me up for my bills, you know, because you're reliant on this. I thought, well, all right, whatever. And then I got a message to come in the next day. So I've come in the next day, and the guy, you know, he had apparently, when I weren't there, he'd kicked off. He wanted me there. He said, well, I needed him because he knows I'm reliable, you know, and I can do what I do. And so I'm his like right-hand man, if you like. And he was fuming apparently with management, way above the dipshit that's running it, like higher management. He was going nuts at them apparently, saying, get him in now. Like, what the are you doing? They didn't realise. So they were frantically trying to fix it. So I was in the next day, and I spoke to him about it when I come back, because he said, I didn't realise all that was going on, you know. And he said that, and I said, well, if they'd called me in that day, I'd have told them to kiss my ass, because you tell me not to come in. I ain't playing silly bollocks. He said, I know you would. That's why I didn't tell him to call you back in right there and then. Because I don't do that. If you tell me not to come in, don't play me around. Don't expect me then to be sitting by my phone waiting to come in, just in case. No. You tell me not to come in, I ain't coming in at all. Don't care how much you offer me. Yeah, that was interesting. But what I'm showing there is, like, look, I'm unhinged. I get that. But people can take, I think personally, people will take it from wherever angle they're at. If you're in leadership, I'm an absolute nightmare, aren't I? If you're not a very good leader, yeah, you want weak people. I get it. I'm not your man. If you're someone who wants to have I personally think that the best business where you will get challenged so things can improve, you know, and you want someone to get something done, I'll get it done. But, you know, I often, like I said at the beginning, I think personally most businesses are weak. Most leadership are inept, and they're corrupt, and they're incompetent. And that's who you end up working for. So, I mean, that's just one example. Then I went to a job about a year later, much better paying job, more established company. You think, oh, this is going to be great. This should be much more professional. It was an absolute shit show. This was a place where they'd hired loads of ex-military people to run a logistics company off of a utility company. So, a utility company used to hire out a contractor to do all their just logistics, to get all the hardware like pipes and shit to wherever they need to go. They decided they're hemorrhaging money, they're going to do it in-house, never done it before. So rather than get people who have experience in logistics and warehousing and got a background in that, which they did with us staff. So they hired 5 of us to work in the warehouse, and we'd have to operate all the forklifts, do all the tasks. We literally to do everything, which I thought was exciting because I thought, yeah, that ain't going to get boring, is it? When they know what they're doing. And it turns out that the ones they hired above us were ex-military. So they had no background in warehouse logistics. So us, who are just the minions, effectively, doing the work, were the experienced ones. So you're getting led by idiots just because they're used to commanding people. Do I look like someone that gets put in a box and gets commanded? So I don't care about people's backgrounds. And again, I don't have conflict for the sake of conflict. But me and my manager, we had loads of arguments, like absolute loads of arguments. But he knew, you give me a task and I'll get it done. And I was I don't want to say that, but I was the best on the forklift, on the reach truck. Reach truck's more technical, and I was the fastest on it, but I also never had accidents. So you give me the truck and I'll get it done. That was pretty much it. Other people would maybe try and go fast, and they would have an accident, or they're too cocky, or they're slow as shit, or they're just dangerous in general. And it was like, with me, you knew you were going to get it done and you weren't going to have accidents. Again, I'm not saying a bit cocky, but that was that. And I always saw things, you know. So it's simple things. I know some other people will, but no one else around me was even bothering to care or look at it. So, for instance, there was often rubbish left around. They would moan, "There's rubbish. We need to clear up." Blah blah blah. And then some people are lazy, and I'm like, why don't we just put some freaking heavy bags at the end of each aisle to the end of the racking, and then as people come out the aisles, they can put it in. I've seen that in other places. You know what I mean? It's experience here. And I go, that's a great idea. Like, my God, mate, like you're in charge of me. What the hell is happening? And there were so many things I'd point out. It was just crazy. We didn't even have anywhere to do, like, when we had to package up like a thing to go out to one of the local hubs where the technicians would go. We had to sort of pack stuff. They had nowhere for us to do any packing. Can't do it on the floor. So being a couple of guys, we're having to be like use our initiative. We're getting, but we decided to stack some pallets together, make them as even as we can, put a board across it, and we'll make a makeshift freaking bench. We told them we need benches. They didn't even understand it. Then they saw this and they go, oh, "That's a good idea." And we go, "Well, no shit, Sherlock. We've told you need a bench." Then all of a sudden they go, "All right, we're looking to get a bench." They didn't have a clue. It was absolute farce. And I'm like, this is mad, mate. This is not what you sold us a dream, and it's a train wreck. The terms of the conditions kept changing as well. So, for instance, they started removing break times, reducing the break times. Then they started changing our shift hours. Then all these other rules were coming in, and it was just an absolute mess, constantly evolving because they were having these little epiphany ideas that were absolute shit, pissing everyone off when they relied heavily on us to do the job and come up with a lot of other ideas. And it's like all these places, they're no different to each other. You know, you think you've got a breakthrough and it's a shit show. And sometimes I was off on holiday and I come back and loads of shit's happened since. Everyone had come bothering me on purpose because they know I'd fire up, because they haven't got the balls to speak up and say something. So I was often in the office with my manager. Well, it's not like a full-blown argument or anything like that. We're not like that. But it's very much, you know, obviously they think they're right. I know I'm right. And we'd just go back and forth for a bit, you know. And it's quite funny because we're quite confrontational but competitive, I guess. So there was one time where he was doing everything he can just to piss us off for some reason. Not just me, the whole lot of us, because he was getting petty. And I just thought, what are you doing? Like, we're the ones saving your ass and you're like trying to wind us up. So he started getting really funny about going home. He was saying, no one leaves here, because you obviously got to go locker, you've got to go out and all that. He started being really funny about the time. I can't remember how it played out, but I thought, all right, you're playing silly bollocks with us. I know what you're doing. But anyway, I said something to him. I can't remember how it went out now, but I did say something to him about the time and all this that we was getting offered. Oh, that's it. Our contract stipulated 37 and a half hours. I think it's 37 and a half hours, and we was working 38. I can't remember how it worked. Yeah, something like that. Because I was working it out, and I said, wait a minute. Our contract says 37 and a half hours, but he never lets us go out on time. Like, we're supposed to have, effectively, it's either you finish half an hour early on a Friday, or I think it's something like 6 minutes each day. Yeah, 6, 12, 18, 24. 6 minutes each day. So either you finish at 3:54 every day, or you finish half an hour early on a Friday-ish. Well, obviously, we wanted to finish early on a Friday. That'd be nice. That'd be nice because it's quiet on a Friday. He didn't want us to have what we want, did he? Because he was annoyed that we started raise these problems because he had it his way, and it was actually against the contracts, against the company's policy, which they often did. So the company itself was a great company. They hired these people who didn't know the rules, and they kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and we had to keep fighting back. When I say we, for the majority of the time, it's me. So I raised it with HR. I went round him and said, "Look, could someone explain this?" I think that's what it is. I raised it in front of them. That's what happened. Because I don't care where I do it. I'll do it to people's faces. So there was a HR lady on a video conference call with all of us. It's about something else, and they just and it was about asking questions and all that. And the two managers sitting in the desk with us, and there's about at that point I think there's about 8 of us because they'd hired more people. And obviously they think they're dictating the conversation. And I raised it. I said, "Look, I've noticed that our contract says 37 and a half hours, but we seem to be working 38, and it's been like that since we started." And they're like bumbling, like, what do you mean? What do you mean you're doing 38? Where does it say 37? And then they're looking through it, and they're trying to figure it out. You can see them like they were actually bumbling through it, like, oh shit, like what the heck? Like they knew they were going to get spanked because that's HR. They know they don't mess about. It's his company policy, his contract. And then she confirmed, no, you should be doing whatever your contract is what you should be doing. My manager just went pow, and that's when we had that problem. So I've raised it in there right in front of them. I gave them long enough to see it for themselves, or to at least take notice in a way. But it was like, you should know the rules. So I made it. So we did that, and then he calls me in the office, and then he goes, right, I've decided, because all we knew was, it's not like we said how it should play out. We just knew it was 37 and a half hours. So no one said it should be 6 minutes on a. We just knew we were supposed to be doing half an hour extra. He knew what we wanted. We want a half an hour on a Friday. And I knew before I even go in the office, I said to all the people I work with, I said, if he wants to play silly bollocks, and I'm pretty thinking sure he will, because he likes to be difficult, I think he's going to offer us the 6 minutes each day because it means nothing. He'll offer us that rather than give us a meaningful amount of time. Calls me in the office with a grin on his face, and he says, I've looked at it all, and what we're going to do, we're going to. This is how he wanted it. He felt he had us. So he said, "I'm going to do it where everyone finishes it." I can't remember how he said it now. It was 54 minutes past. That's what it was. So we're going to finish it 54 minutes past instead of 4 o'clock. So 6 minutes early. But no one is leaving the shop floor, the warehouse, like the floor, the actual, before you even get to your locker and shit. He said, no one's leaving this part of the building until 54. You will all be here working until 54 minutes past. He thought he'd won because he thought by the time you get your jacket on and shit, it's gonna be 4. So I was like, well, okay. I said, but we still won. He goes, how'd you win? This is how we've talked to each other, I said, because we've literally just got 6 minutes. He said, how have you got 6 minutes? I said, are you serious? I said, we've literally got 6 minutes. I said, we was finishing at 4. Now we're going to finish at 3:54. We've just gained 6 minutes. It was confusing him. He thought he'd beaten us. And we started going to and fro. And I said, wait, let me just stop you there. Because I said, this isn't just a conversation for us. This is like for everyone. Like, we should probably have this with everybody. Yeah, so we stopped the conversation. We've gone out there. He looks at the floor when he's talking. He's got this weird thing where he just watches the floor. And he was getting heated up. Because obviously I've just shown him a weakness in his mind, what he thought, I don't know. And he was laying it on thick. Everybody looked pissed. They all looked well fed up. And it's like, this isn't how you treat people, We've always done the extra mile for him. We've done overtime when he needs it. Then he gets resentful that everybody's earning good money because but the hours we put in has saved his ass. This is corruption. But he's a military person. He just expects us all to fall in line and do what he wants. I'm not a military person, and I haven't got the capacity to be one. As you can see, I don't follow inept leadership. So I'll go toe to toe. I don't care who you are. So I knew how to play him as well. Like, I knew all the angles. Like I said, I'm a calculating person. I see everything. And I won't let someone have anything over me. So he thought that by the time we come out of the building, we go get a jacket on, we clock out, we sign the form to say, like, a fire register. You ain't getting out of that building until 4 o'clock, which is what he thought. So every time I went break time at lunch, anything that was in my locker, I'd chuck in my car. And it would get to 54. And I kid you not, I was out the building within 15 seconds. Less than that. It was literally, I was as fast as you can. As soon as 54 went, straight to the reception, which is just literally around the corner. Literally through there, signed the form as fast as I can, straight out the building. And by all accounts, when I've left, he would say to people like, "Where's he gone?" And I go, "He's gone home," because they'd see my car just zoom off as fast as you can. Because I want to do that every time to show him that that we finish at 54. But the other people, for some reason, I don't know what's wrong with them, but they would actually stay till 4 still. I think it's like a kiss ass mentality. So I look like the bad egg. I'm just following the contract. He's the idiot that wanted to give us the 6 minutes early every day instead of a decent amount of time at the week on a Friday so you can enjoy your weekend. He was the one. That just showed his character to me, You're that petulant and you're that poor of a leader. We had a lot of issues about a lot of things, me and him. But I'm not someone that shies away. There was a time when the logistics managers, this is a big, massive water utility company in the UK. Massive utility company, worth a fortune. And obviously they've got different levels. You've got a logistics manager, you've got all sorts of managers, but then you've also got like the head honcho, the guy at the very top of the pyramid. And literally, I think it was like one that's either second in command or one just below that, come in to our warehouse. And we had a big meeting. Everybody from the admin upstairs, from our side of the business, they come down. The drivers who do all the lorries and things, they come in, and all of us who do the logistics side in the building, functional, we're all there. So everyone's together, and they're giving this whole load of spiel, and I'm just thinking, this is a load of shit that I've got things to say here. Because everybody had told me certain things. There were certain things that was getting removed, like break times, and it was like freezing cold in the winter, boiling in the summer. It's just really bad facility. And I just said, has anyone got any questions? Expecting us all to be silent. Everybody fall in line. Because this wasn't now just between us, our managers, our local manager. This is like high up. And that's when I put my hand up. I just said, yeah, I've got something. I've been off for a while. Everybody's come to me and said a few things. I said, and I'm in a bit of shock, to be totally honest, that now apparently we're losing break times and this place is absolutely freezing in the winter and boiling in the summer to the point where this is just unbearable. Like, I don't know how you expect people to just keep working like constantly under these conditions, which are not really fit for purpose, by removing the break times that we need to recover in between this. I said, it's outrageous. And he's like, I didn't know nothing about that. Let me look into it. And I'll get back to you. I'm thinking, all right. My manager looked freaking pissed. I kid you not. Everybody, I didn't really notice. I think I noticed him look at the ground, but everybody after was saying he is pissed, mate. I said, is he? And then there's another manager in the building he's higher up as well. So like he's there and he's the one in charge of this. So it's like this overlapping thing. So about a couple of days later, we had a meeting. We was all called in out of my group of people, ones that work the normal warehouse side. And the manager was pissed, and the one just above him, because the other guy had ordered them to get it sorted out. And then they come out, I can't remember what they said. And then they said, like, they were talking a lot because they wanted to make sure they got heard. And then they said, has anyone got any questions? I thought, I haven't got any questions. I've already said what I've got to say. I'm not going to go around in circles. And then, because no one asked anything, they did specifically point me out and say, well, you've usually got something to say. Have you got nothing you want to say? I said, I had it. I said what I had to say. I said, look, this is what I said. I said, look, if any of the others have got a problem, then they can speak for themselves. I said, I've already told you what my problem is. I said, I'm not going to speak for everyone all the time. I've already said what my thing is. I could have, obviously, there was things I could have said, but I just thought, I'm not here to do this shit. I'm not going to have a to and fro with people who I don't think personally give a shit. They haven't shown that they really care about us. They're just doing what they can just to get the most out of you. They're just whipping you in line all the time, It was just, for me, it was just corrupt. I'm not playing silly shits with you people. I don't respect you. I'm not going to even have a conversation for long, And then I've got the people working alongside me who are just cowards. I'm like, this is a joke. I look like the unhinged lunatic. So there was a time, because I had a back problem, I had to have time off, and I had to have a meeting with HR and my manager. And I did say in that meeting, I said, it gets annoying. I said, because I look like the bad guy, because I always have to speak on things. I said, because everybody else doesn't want to speak up. And they come to me with the problems, and then I see the problem, and then I speak on it, and then I look like the problem for talking about it. And then her advice was literally, I wouldn't, if there's a problem and it's someone else has got it, let them, they should be dealing with it rather than, you talking on everything if it's not personal to you. And that's when I started thinking, yeah, I'm sick of this shit. Just because I can deal with it and I can take the weight of it and I can take the repercussions. It's like, it's not for me to do it, But it just gets on my nerves that time and time again, all of these businesses are absolute shit. And it doesn't matter how big or small the company is. It's usually a moron in leadership who literally can't handle the pressure and have no experience in the role at all. And it's like one thing not having managerial experience, because I think you can attain that. You can grow into it. But if what you're leading is foreign to you, you don't even understand it, the processes, the protocols, and all the little things that make it whole. I don't understand how the hell you can lead the people when you don't even understand the process. That's like someone who's never been a chef or a waitress running a restaurant. How the hell could you run a restaurant when you don't even understand the fundamentals that make that restaurant function? You know, there was a job, again, I've been so many piss poor places. I've been places that should be good or crap. I've been places that you don't know and it's terrible. There's a woman who was previously worked in banking, because I knew she didn't know shit because I asked someone. I said, where's she been? What's her background? Because she didn't know anything about storing things, locations, and all sorts. It was a mess. And I thought, this place is a train wreck. I don't think I'll even be here long. So I said, what's her background? They said, banking. I just laughed. I thought, Jesus Christ. How can you have somebody in banking that comes in and just runs a warehouse? That doesn't even work. You've got no experience. Get your hands dirty and do the role for a bit to understand the process. Then you know what the hell you need. She wasn't even ordering pallets. This was a joke. She ran out of pallets and she expected us to get the job done like most leaders do. They expect the job done no matter how you get it done. Just do it. That's how it works. A container come in which had no pallets. So you have to handball the crap. It's heavy work, but you have to grab it individually, boxes, for what? Obviously, the more you take off, the deeper you go. So you've got more walking back and forwards. So obviously, you try and bring a pallet with you and, use a pump truck and send it to the forklift can then pick it up. There's a whole process with this shit. But she didn't even have any pallets. But she expected us to take it off of a container. Well, where the hell is it going? We're not going to take it off a container, throw it all on the floor, which would be a lot of hard work because you can't even get down to the floor. It'd probably damage the product anyway. And after that, you're going to have to lift it again onto a pallet. So you can't move an inch until I've got a pallet. And it shocked her. It's like, my God, what do you think we do? So in the end, I think she asked us to go look at asking some companies for pallets. I thought, I'm not doing that. That ain't my job. I am not doing anything that ain't my job. That's your job. So she had to go around the local area asking people for pallets. She had to start buying pallets of people. It was a real weird mess. But the worst part is, because I'm a health and safety sort of person, I don't like that. If something shouldn't be dangerous, it shouldn't be dangerous. Don't risk your life at work. That's what my attitude is. You don't go work for that shit. Nothing's worth that. But so my nephew'd got a job there as well for a little while after, and we was having a lunch break, and all of a sudden there was a bang. And it was literally where we was maybe 30 seconds before, a minute before. All like the racking that we were standing getting items from upstairs had just come smack against the concrete wall. And that's where we were standing about 30 seconds, a minute before that. So for me, that was, I think I quit that day. If something's dangerous, I don't put up with it. It was a mess anyway. But my point is, not every place I've been to is horrible, but I've got enough experience to say that I've worked for idiots. So if someone, again, look, I can look like an unhinged lunatic, I get it. I get it. And you might think it's bad, like me telling my daughter certain things, and you might think, let her figure it out for herself. It's like, great. But when the world is quite corrupt, it's very rarely fair. I would rather she was prepared to go, knowing that going in. And then she can create her own legacy, and she can see what she knows where she's coming from. Then I think when people keep selling you freaking roses, and they're all burnt to a crisp, and you don't even realise until you receive them. That's I think it's good to know going in. So I think in life in general, you're better off expecting the worst and be pleasantly surprised when it isn't bad, than it is to go in thinking everything's glossy and rosy, and then you get shocked and heartbroken and freaking maybe you succumb to the pressure of it all when things go bad. Because that's what I say, like a lot of people keep themselves in toxic environments. They're terrified of change. This was the thing. I've left these positions. The one there with the military people, and it was a really good paying job. That literally, I could buy whatever I wanted, whenever I want, every month. And overtime was crazy money. It was like double time. We was doing all right outside of work. I was miserable at work. Sometimes I didn't want to get out of the car. I'd get out of the car, my head was down, and I just thought, this isn't a way to live. You can't live like this. It's absolute. It's not right. You're fighting against corruption all the time. That's what it felt like. It just felt like I was constantly having to fight against toxic presence. and I didn't respect those I worked for, and I didn't like the feeling of that. It's like, I don't like who you are, and I don't respect you. You don't know what you're doing. You're treating us like shit because you're jealous, because we're getting decent pay, getting similar pay to him some months, my manager. And he would work silly hours. But the thing is, we're saving his ass. Without us, nothing gets moved. And then he gets under pressure. We weren't thinking like that, always thinking about themselves. And that's not leadership. And I talked to the guys, and some of them, they weren't happy and they want to leave, but they were terrified of losing the money. But my argument to that was, and I said it to them, I said, the real problem is you're allowing the money to control you. I said, it's up to you. But if you're miserable today and you won't leave because you're worried about losing the money, then that tells you everything. I said, in 10 years' time, you're going to be just as miserable as you are today, or even worse. And it was the money that kept you bound there. And I think that's sad if you let the money keep you trapped. And there's no potential to be happy because you've just sold that for whatever they're offering you. It might change if they change leadership. You just don't know how things evolve, but I can't part with that. I said, yeah. Anyway, we're built different. So I'd rather be poor and have my freedom. And that's the part people don't understand sometimes. So sometimes my daughter will say that. So when I'm out of work, I get all sorts of accusations, and I just don't give a shit. I'm beating my own drum. I'm not a lazy person. I do videos all the time. I do write my books. I'm always proactive. I always have the capacity to go back into workplaces and things. It's just look at if the right thing comes and I'm interested, I'll consider it. But I've seen enough shit now that I'm fed up with it. And people will obviously make remarks, and I get it all the time. And I even had a conversation with my daughter the other day, because I know where my future's leading me. It's just when that door opens, I have no idea. I'm quite an intuitive person, I know. So sometimes even she hears it, and I think she relays it. Because how are you making the money if you're not working and things like that? And it's like a judgment of me. It's not. I know it's not personal, but I know people around her are just in her ear saying things. And I spoke to her yesterday about it. I said, to be honest, don't worry about what other people think. I said, everybody else is sheep. They're just like terrified to step outside the bubble. They conform all the time. They're miserable, and they just want everyone else to be doing the same thing they do. And they're terrified if we can step outside of that. I said, I'm building something else that's bigger than that, to the point where I haven't got to work every day to make money. So one day I won't even be working that much, and I'll be living a nice life. And people will be like up in arms about it. That'd be, how the hell is that possible? Because I stepped outside the bubble and I started doing things for myself. So, okay, my books haven't sold as much as they should have done. I think they should have done. One day people will finally read them, listen, maybe perhaps even learn from what I've been through. And the success may come from that, And I personally think it will. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's events in the future where I'm talking. Maybe I'm on people's shows. Maybe I'm doing events. But that won't be every day. And you'll get paid for that. And you probably and I'd assume get paid a lot more than you would doing a yearly salary at one of these shitholes. And it's just because I strive for better for myself. And I like to try to inspire others to see their qualities too and recognize where they can improve. And it's okay to walk away from something. No one, effectively, this is the thing. I see a big future for myself, and it's nice to have that vision. At the same time, when we allow money to dictate our path, so we succumb to it, we forego our freedom to conform to everybody else's expectations or the job or the money, what we're doing is selling our freedom. Effectively, we're slaves. And that's how I see it. Now, I know other people think I'm unhinged, but I see things in quite deep ways. And I do see it as that's slavery. And I know you get paid for it, but you're literally selling your soul. You're literally selling every ounce of your freedom, your individuality, your wants, your desires, your dreams, because someone's flaunted some money in your face. And I often have this conversation in my mind. It's like, how much of your soul, how much would it cost for your soul? How much would it cost for your freedom? How much would you sell your dream for? Now, if you thought of it in that way, and then someone said, well, nothing less than $1 million, nothing less than $1 million. That's what you'd naturally think. I wouldn't sell that. Why would I sell that? Well, that's funny, because you're on like a salary that's maybe £28,000 a year, £30,000 a year, maybe more. But it didn't take $1 million to stop your dream, did it? Someone just had to offer you a salary that was maybe something that's continuous, something that's regular, sustainable. They just offered you something. It wasn't even a lot. And that was enough to take you off your path, to make you trapped for the rest of your life. And, that is the reality. And I know people hide behind it. I've got bills. I've got bills. I'm not saying it's easy to be poor, but I'm poor right now, financially poor, mentally free. And that's what I choose. If I didn't choose that, I wouldn't be like that. That's the thing, isn't it? So it's like people can think one way or the other, but I can get out of it whenever I want. I can literally succumb to the pressure and just go somewhere and just be like, I'll put up with all the shit. I can't put up with shit. I've been exposed to it for too long in my life. I can't. Think about it this way. When you're younger, I was always quite outspoken anyway, and I'd always I speak up on things. I think my resistance to it, like in terms of the fact that I'm going to be more reactive quicker now. The older I get, the more reactive, the quicker I react. Because I've got no time for bullshit. So if something's not right, it's not right. I don't give it time to sort of figure out. I know it's not right. I know it. I've seen it enough times. Not trying to shatter dreams and just giving a reality check. The world is not catered for justice and fairness. It's catered for corruption and toxic leadership. And I don't want to make it political, but you only have to look at like Trump and to go this way, right? I know it's obviously not to do with business, but I think it's a good example because it goes all the way to the top. All the way to the top. Think about, I'm not saying there isn't a good leader because I'm not familiar with every leader of every country, but think about leadership in general, presidents, prime ministers around the world. How many of them do people genuinely trust? How many of them do things genuinely for the people who you respect? They won't always do the things you want because they're accounting to a lot of people. So there's a lot of demographics, a lot of cultures, and there's a lot of things that maybe we don't see. But we'd love them to have an infinite pot of gold. It's not how it works. So there's a finite amount of resources. But how do they represent the people? And how much do they respect them? And then look at leadership around the world and think to yourself, even from the very top, it's corrupt. So what chance really is there? And that's what it's like in workplaces. The culture's the same. Now, not every workplace is the same. There will be good leaders, but it's like, and if my attitude is, if we stay in the wrong places, we give ourselves no opportunity to find a place that's respectful and you can thrive. So I'm not saying that every single place of business is terrible, but if we stay in the ones that are, we'll never find the good ones. That's the reality, isn't it? So maybe you've got to go maybe 50 jobs before you finally find one that's good. So be it. Every time you leave one, you've knocked one out. You've freaking knocked one off the list. But hopefully it's been useful to people, to be honest. It's like, that's my background. So if anyone thinks, oh, he's lazy or he's this, it's like, don't worry about me. Don't worry about me. I know what I'm doing. Even if it's, you don't have to understand the method. I see quite clear, to be totally honest. I know what my tolerances are. I know what my dreams are. And I know what will make me happy and fulfilled and what won't. So I invest in what makes me inspired. So I do what I want to do. And I don't have to see success that day. I'll always invest in myself. That's the thing, isn't it? I'd rather invest in myself than a company that's really got no respect for me. So I am the brand. I am the brand. But yeah, I mean, there's just examples, of course, of some. I could give more examples of other situations. They're the more recent, I guess, than the more the positions, really. Yeah, it is demoralising, for sure it is. Because, you go when you start a job, for the most part, you go with the best of intentions. You go there because you obviously don't want the day to go slow. So you want to be, for the most part, the average person wants to be busy. I know some people are just lazy as shit, but you're too lazy, the day don't move. You want to be mind occupied. You don't even get time to think. That's great because then the time goes fast. You want to get paid a reasonable salary for what you've done. And I say that, I don't think it matters what you do. Everyone deserves a decent quality of life. If you've put the work in, doesn't matter what you're doing. No one deserves to struggle at the end of a week. That's not right. Everyone, if you've contributed towards a business or anything, you deserve to have a decent quality of life, no matter what that role was. You've contributed something. So yeah, that's what I think. So I think you should be able to do something, and it doesn't. It's fit for purpose, effectively. You ask someone to do something, give them the tools to do it. Don't overcomplicate it. Respect the role they're doing, and just let them get the job done. Don't make it political. Don't start making it freaking harder than it is. Don't start getting in people's faces because you want to act positive, strong, and all that shit. Or start nagging at people to destroy their freaking mental health. Like, why try to ruin someone just to feel strong? It's thick. But anyway, everyone just wants to get paid for it, don't you? And then you just want to be able to treat yourself, have a nice life. You want to travel. You want to do things to make up for the thing you've just done. You know, you've gone to work. You've had to go to places maybe you didn't want to go to, but you got on with it. It's not. Hopefully, the environment isn't too bad. You got paid for it, and you get to treat yourself as a reward. That's what on the basic form, that's what it should be. But I think when it's really heavy to go to those places and then they don't even pay you very well, it's like really hasn't got much freaking incentive. Anyway, I think a lot of leaders, managers, directors, I think they all need to kick up the arse, to be totally honest. And they need to learn to invest in the right people. Just because someone's a kiss ass doesn't make them the best person for the role. And that's really where a lot of these businesses suffer. They have a lack of growth because they've got people in those positions who don't challenge the status quo and push the company to achieve more. There's so many areas to that, isn't there? Like I said, the average person's sheep, scared of their own shadow. Now, I could be disruptive, and I'm not saying I'll be the best leader. I don't know. But I think I've got potential. Personally. You know, because if I'm questioning things, then I would find better practices and ways to evolve. And if you feel your opinions are being like appreciated, you go the extra mile. And maybe there'll be ways to find efficiencies, and there'll be ways to just evolve something. And maybe then the business actually becomes more profitable because you're finding areas. And then through conversations, it's like literally you're all coming up with concepts. And also then you're uplifting your staff because you're investing in them and also seeing when they need support. So I don't think constantly pressuring something is the answer. It's nurture them and they'll flourish and bloom and like a plant, a flower. And I've never see anything as a threat to me anyway, so I don't care. So I've never been scared to train someone in the fear that they're going to be better than me. I hope they are better. It'd be good to see people do well. I'm not insecure. There was times when I did the forklift, for instance, at the other job. I was really good with it. And someone desperate to get on a forklift, he was always like jealous of me. It was the little things he'd say and the way he was looking and stuff. He really wanted what I would do because they want to mirror you, you know. It's just strange. I'm just being me. I don't care. Then he got on the forklift and he was terrified because it ain't so easy, you know, because especially we got no experience, especially on a reach truck. The racking's really high. I don't know the numbers. I can't remember the numbers, but it's really high. About 6 bays up. It goes right to the roof. And then he got nervous. He's doing it, and it's like, well, I didn't rub it in, but in the back of mind, I think it ain't as easy as you think. And then he was really slow at times, or sometimes he'd be having accidents. Like, you know, I had time to calm down in the end. I was like, you need to relax. You get better with time. You'll get more experience with time. And he was given people who the management chose to. They trusted these two people to train. So they had official training, and they wanted to train them in our building. And they only trusted them two. And I was like, this guy I work with, I said, what the hell is this about? These two don't even do shit. Like, they don't even trust us to be able to help. Idiots. Like, I just thought it was disrespectful because these people just kiss ass. It's always the kiss asses, you know? And they didn't even help them. They were literally just watching and stuff. They barely was involved. They're just lazy, you know? And I saw it. It was making him do dangerous shit as well. Like the way he was stowing the pallets. It was dangerous because it was overlapping another pallet. So if you pull it, it could drag the other pallet with it. And it was things like that, or they're pushing it too far on, and anyone else tries to pick it up might knock the pallet off. And I was kicking off. I said, look, I'm not touching that pallet. I said, you've just put that in there now. It's going to be really hard to get that back out without something going wrong. I said, I'm not touching that. So after I had a word, and I said, right, there was another day. I said, do you want to go on the foot? You can have my forklift. Do you want to go on it? And I'll shadow you. Like I'll walk with you, and we can just make sure. Like, I can't remember. I don't know if we got permission for it, actually. I can't remember if we did. I think we did our supervisor, if I can. I can't remember. Anyway, we just did it. And he was doing great. Like, because I was showing him things. I said, right, when your forks go in, like, it was high up, you can't see much. It's like, you've got to have a lot of faith with this. Right. I'm like, if your mast's doing this, like, I know it's scary and you might think, oh shit, that's good because it means it's free. Once it goes hard and rigid, that's when you've got to think about what you're doing. Effectively, if the forks are doing this and then it goes rock hard, it means that the forks are rubbing the pallet. So if the forks are rubbing the pallet and you're not all the way in, what's going to happen? It's literally going to push. If you go forward, it's going to push the pallet, isn't it? And if it pushes it too far, the beams are only about that thick. You push that pallet, even just a slight amount with a bit of force, it could come off. And that, if your forks are not all the way in, you may lose the pallet. And figure the damage that's going to cause and the hassle. So I just said, look, if it ever locks up, just raise your forks or lift. If it's rubbing the top, of course, just find it until it starts wobbling again. And then just take your time, just go in, and you'll get used to it, and you'll figure the. And I said, and also check to know you're in the right place. There's like a shadow that happens at the bottom. You can tell this weird shadow. I said, look for that, and I said, that's when you know you're at the right level and stuff. And then he just started doing it, listening to what I'm telling him. And then later on, I think it's the next day or something, he was just getting on with the job. He was doing well. And then I think a manager come down and said, well, who trained him? And the actual supervisor finally gave me credit and said, oh, Steve did. Steve has been spending some time with him. And I go, oh, well, he's doing well. Well, there you go, mate. The guy that was jealous of me, who wanted my role, I actually supported and helped get better. And then it's up to him after that. But that's what I'm like, you know. I don't see it as a threat. I don't care. But other people will. They could try to keep people small, so I've never done that. I don't care. In reality is I never expect to stay anywhere for long periods anyway, because most places just drive me nuts. It's just, I see it as a means to an end. Effectively, if you're not going to get invested in, I'm not going to stay. You know, either invest in me for promotions, and I make it clear at the beginning, like if there's an opportunity, I'd be interested. Weren't in the past, but now I'm getting older. Don't want to keep doing the same shit over and over, you know. So I've said that in the past. No one listens. And I like to be rotated. No one wants to rotate you. So if I go into a role, for instance, and I think this is nice, of course it's nice. Anything you go to, it's refreshing. You do it long enough, 6 months in, you're getting bored. So like, where's the opportunity to do something else? Like, what is going on? And you often find people posture as doing the most hardest thing. It's easy, but they'll make it seem hard so they don't have to. No one takes it off them. So when we got the role, we was all supposed to do everything. Was going to be masters at everything. Instead, they started pigeonholing us. You're just going to stay doing that. And other people do that. They don't want to move. My attitude was, I think it's better if we all just rotate and then we all become, and then that way, if someone doesn't come into work or there's an issue, we can cover it. At the moment, I don't have a clue how you do that because I've never done it. The process is complicated. No one's shown anyone anything. And then you look stupid if you can't do it. But how the hell can you know it if you've never done it? It doesn't make sense. Just poor leadership. Like if I was leading, you'd rotate. And I don't give a shit if you piss and moan. If you piss and moan, it's because you don't want to do something else. If you don't want to do something else, then I respect the person who's been doing it then. If that easy, you'd want to do it, wouldn't you? Don't act like stupid shit with me. And I would want to know that if people come in, that everything can get done. We're not like relying on one person to be a hero here. We'd rather just lift everyone up. I would rather, let's say levels. Let's say other people are, let's say you've got someone who's a 10, like he's an absolute hero. Like we're relying on this guy. He's a hero. We go the extra mile. We get it all done. And everyone else is maybe around about a 5 or 6. I would rather everybody was a 7 or an 8. I would rather bring that 10 down. Okay, maybe they're not the best at that role, but we're not going to rely on him every day to do that. That's ridiculous. Because if you don't come in, we're screwed. If you ain't got a 10 in and everyone else is at 5, because they're just in these little roles, they don't know how to do that one. So their efficiency level and abilities at a 5. This guy's at a 10. What happens when number 10 don't come in? The company is now performing at a 5. How's that any good? Now, let's train these people up so they know how to do that one. They might not be as good as them because it can take time to get the experience, but now their level will be 7 or 8. And now that person, maybe they're going to come off the thing they're great at, and they're going to have to learn some other tasks. Maybe they're not going to be great at that yet. They'll get used to it. And eventually, now we're all running at a 7 or 8. If someone don't come in, we're still at a 7 or 8. To me, that makes sense. Like, what the hell are we doing here? You're just freaking appeasing someone who thinks they're the fucking messiah. Anyway, this is my attitude to things. So people either see, okay, I'm polarizing. People either see an absolute lunatic of a nutcase, or they see something that's refreshing and inspiring. But I think it depends what side of it you're on. I just see what I think's right.